There is one property on this stretch of Lakeway with its own concrete dock, and this is it $63,500,000. Direct intracoastal frontage, no fixed bridges between this house and the open ocean. This wasn't renovated. It was built from the ground up in 2023, which means every pipe, every wire, and every inch of that dock is new. This is 1260 North Lakeway in Palm Beach, Florida. Let's go inside. From the water, this house does something most Art Deco homes on this island don't attempt. It opens completely toward the Intracoastal, glass wall after glass wall, and at dusk, the entire rear facade lights up like a lantern set down on the water's edge. This house does not wait for daylight to make its case. A motor court with a blue-lit water feature built into the stone on a lot with its own concrete dock and zero fixed bridges to open water. Not every waterfront listing actually touches water. This one does. If that's the level of property you want on your feed, subscribe. We'll keep finding the one 21,279 square feet of lot, and every inch of it sits at a higher elevation than most of the street around it. That is not a small detail on a barrier island. It's the difference between a flood policy that worries you and one that doesn't. The house itself is Art Deco, but restrained white stucco, a barrel tile roof, and stepped cornice details along the roofline that give it away as period-inspired rather than period-original. It was built in 2023. Nothing here is inherited. Nothing here needs a renovation budget. The front door sits behind a deep arched portico flanked by olive trees and lantern sconces, and the motor court in front of it is laid in a circular pebble mosaic that has clearly been designed, not just paved. There's a secondary gated entrance too, separate from the main motor court, built for exactly the kind of day when caterers or staff need to move through without crossing the front door. From above, the lot reads long and generous rather than square pool on one side, house-centered, water directly behind it. That shape is the whole point of the address. Most homes on Lakeway have a view of the water. This one has a claim on it. The listing calls it concrete dockage with no fixed bridges, which in plain terms means a boat leaves this property and reaches the ocean without stopping anywhere along the way. That is not common on this side of the island, and it is the single hardest thing to manufacture in Palm Beach real estate. You either bought the lot with it, or you're negotiating with a neighbor for the rest of your life. From the upper balcony, the pool, the seawall, and the dock line up in one continuous shot straight out to the sailboats anchored on the Intracoastal. On the other side of the water, the same skyline shows up again and again through the video, which tells you exactly how close this stretch of Palm Beach sits to everything without ever feeling like it. You're not far from the city. You are just done arriving at it. Picture a Wednesday evening with the boat tied up below and nowhere left to drive to get there. The exterior sets the tone. What happens between the rooms is where this house actually spends its architectural budget. This courtyard, tucked behind the motor court, is lined with bougainvillea and a hand-tiled wall fountain, and it connects three separate arched loggias that you pass through before ever reaching a bedroom. Repetition like that is expensive to get right. Every arch has to line up with the one behind it, in the same stone, at the same depth, all the way down the corridor. Inside, the staircase drops the theme entirely and goes contemporary. Cantilevered wood treads, thin steel cable rails, floating above a glass-walled light well 2 stories tall, with a sculptural pendant fixture dropped straight through the center of the stairway. 2 architectural languages in one house, and neither one apologizes for the other. Now step into the room the whole back of the house was built around. Floor-to-ceiling black steel windows wrap 2 full walls, and beyond them, the Intracoastal does most of the decorating. A stone fireplace anchors one end, 2 full sofa arrangements face each other in the middle, and at the far corner, 3 oversized figurative works hang together like a single installation rather than 3 separate purchases. Not staged for the photo, chosen for the wall. Around the corner, a second sitting room repeats the same formula in a quieter register. Glass coffee tables, teal accent chairs, the same water view from a different angle. This home does not have one living room. It has several, and none of them compete for attention. The kitchen seats 12 to 14 at the dining table just beyond it, and it was clearly built for that number. Waterfall marble runs the full length of the island, a professional gas range sits under a hand-formed hood, and a glass display cabinet lit from inside holds nothing but serving pieces, which tells you this kitchen is meant to be looked at as much as used. This isn't a kitchen that faces the wall. It faces the water. The island itself does double duty, with bar stools pulled up on one side facing straight out toward the water, so whoever's cooking is never actually facing away from the view. Around the corner, a second kitchen exists almost entirely for staff or overflow entertaining. Same white cabinetry, same marble, just quieter. And tucked into the hallway on the way there, a small bar with backlit glass shelving does the one job those other kitchens can't, pouring a drink without anyone leaving the party. Outside, the pool runs the width of the rear lawn and lines up directly with the water beyond it. So from the right angle, the two blend into one surface. A second, narrower lap pool sits along the side yard for actual laps rather than lounging. Most estates at this price only build one pool and expect it to do both jobs. Under the covered loggia, striped cushions and stone flooring hold the same restrained palette as the rest of the house, and a wall of hedging along the property line means none of this is visible from the bike path that runs along the water. Cooking out here with the folding glass doors pushed fully open behind you is not a backup plan for good weather. It's the plan. One level down is where most Palm Beach homes stop. Here, a staircase keeps going up to a full rooftop terrace with its own furnished seating, stone balustrades, and a view that clears the neighboring roof lines entirely. From up here, you get the boats on the Intracoastal, the skyline beyond them, and the pool directly below, all without another house blocking any of it. Most rooftop decks in this price range are an afterthought poured onto a flat roof. This one wasn't an afterthought. It was clearly planned alongside everything below it, with the same stone detailing and the same lantern sconces carried all the way up from the ground floor. Picture a Thursday morning with coffee up here before anyone else in the house is awake. No neighbor's window in sight, just water in every direction you turn. The primary suite takes the same water-facing formula from downstairs and gives it a private balcony. A folded coffered ceiling adds height without adding decoration, and the bed faces a wall of black steel doors that open straight onto the intracoastal view with sailboats visible from the pillow. The bathroom is where the restraint finally loosens a little. A freestanding oval tub sits under its own window. A walk-in shower opens directly onto the terrace through a second set of steel doors, and a double vanity runs long enough for two people to get ready without negotiating counter space. Not the largest primary suite this channel has toured, just the one with its own door straight to the water. The listing describes this house as having as many as 6 bedrooms, and the wording matters. Several of these rooms are technically flex spaces, full bath, walk-in closet, and in at least one case, its own small wet bar, which means they function as bedrooms, offices, or guest suites depending on who's living here that year. That flexibility is worth more than a fixed bedroom count on paper. Each guest room keeps its own identity. One leans coastal with a round upholstered headboard. Another opens through French doors onto a private balcony, and a quiet sitting room upstairs works as a reading room or a second office, whichever the day calls for. Nothing in this house was built to serve only one purpose, and the laundry room tucked off this wing stacked machines. Full-length marble counter makes it clear this level was designed to run on its own for days at a time. One honest note before we close. This price reflects a $6 million drop from where the home originally listed. And on a barrier island, where land rarely gets cheaper, that is worth sitting with for a second. The construction happening on the lot next door is part of that story. Lakeway is actively rebuilding around this house, which means the neighborhood is getting newer, not older. And this home simply got there first. That is the trade-off of buying early on a street mid-transformation. Some dust and scaffolding for a season or two in exchange for being the finished house once everyone else catches up. It's also worth saying plainly that this is a staged home. The furniture you're seeing throughout is available separately from the stager, in whole or in part, which is not always the case at this price point. That's not a downside. It's a shortcut for whoever moves in next. So let's bring this together. Direct intracoastal frontage with concrete dockage and no fixed bridges to the ocean. 7,034 square feet, 6 bedrooms across flex and fixed spaces, 7.5 bathrooms, a rooftop terrace above a primary suite that already has its own balcony, a wine room built into the dining wall. New construction on a barrier island, finished in 2023, sitting at high elevation with a $6 million price adjustment already built into today's number. This is not a house waiting for the right buyer to imagine what it could be. It already is that house. All right? I want to hear from you. The private dock, the rooftop terrace, that wine wall in the dining room, or the primary suite balcony looking straight down the Intracoastal, which one would get you out of bed first? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if new construction waterfront tours like this one are what you're here for, hit subscribe. We've got more coming.
See you in the next one.